Welcome everybody to our Monday night empowerment session. We are going to jump in and learn more about adaptogens, otherwise some of my personal stories, and as to why I will always be taking them. All right, so first of all, why adaptogens? Well, many of you know that for 22 years, I had a retail shop where I did consults and saw people and took care of, helped support people with their health needs and took care of education. And I was very, very picky about what was on my shelves. And people that have been there know that and know my history. And so 10 years ago, because most of you know, this is the 10-year anniversary of when we started Soul. But 10 years ago, when I added this product line to the shop, we only had 6 or 7 products. And I knew the people very well that were tied to the company. And their beliefs were in alignment with myself. And I just felt that it would be a very good addition. Well, when I started building programs with people and started using them personally, what I started to see happening was nothing short of amazing. Because literally over the course of, let's say, the first 5 years, because we started with just a few products, I started to see more and more people that were getting results with using the products from Soul Naturals. And I stopped and I was thinking about it, like, what is going on? Is it my imagination? Is this really happening? And then one day I had an experience where I had marked down some other companies' products that just simply were not selling anymore. And I had a customer come in who had been using the Cinnamate. And they saw that I had another product marked down to 50 cents and in my bin to get rid of. And they asked me why I was getting rid of it, why it was on sale for 50 cents. And I said, well, and what it did. So I told them what it did, told them how it helped to balance blood sugar. And they were like, well, why would anyone want to use that when they can have Cinnamate and it works so much better? And right then it started to ring a bell. It started to register for me. I thought, you know what? If I sit back and look and watch, and I purposely started having certain conversations with people, the people were showing me that they liked the results they were getting with the Soul products and the adaptogens because they were feeling better mentally and feeling better emotionally. I realized they were actually staying on their programs. They were following through and coming back and getting more and getting results and doing better than I'd ever seen of the course of all my years. And you guys know that I've been in this field for 43 years now, but out of 43 years at this point, but 5 years ago, I was like, wow, it's not in my head. People are doing better. People are feeling better. So much so that as I would keep running the numbers, and those of you that were coming in the shop, because I did close the shop about 2 years ago, people were like, why are you all about Soul? I said, well, you guys have shown me that you're all about Soul. You're the ones that are liking the results. You're the ones that are coming back in time after time after time, only purchasing these items. So there's no point in me stocking the other. You have shown me what you want. You have shown me what you get results with. So that is why I always have that in my programs now. What is another why for me that I will always have adaptogens? Well, on the left side of your screen, you see we're just one short there of all my grandchildren at this point. And I feel completely comfortable with using the Soul Naturals products with any and or all of them. In fact, the 2 youngest on there are Soul babies. And this is our 3rd oldest daughter when she was pregnant with this grandson right here, my birthday twin. And it is amazing. I've worked a lot with pregnancy, with fertility, with having good, healthy deliveries, good, healthy babies. And once again, I started to see the same types of things. But there was something unique that was happening with these babies when they were being born. So much so that I had a midwife, I'd heard back from a midwife through the mother, the midwife had made the remark that this baby, when it was born, was the calmest they'd ever seen. That was only the first time I heard that. I started to hear it more and more times, and I got to realizing that my moms, while they were pregnant, they were having it generally better and easier and more successful pregnancies. They weren't having the stress involved. The babies were going to term easier. The babies were, their APGARs were outstanding. They were nursing better, you name it, across the board. So that we had better attachments that were happening with the children. And the fact that once these children were born, the mothers could still use the Soul Natural products, and the adaptogens would help their body to adapt to that stage. Otherwise, this adaptogens were working with them before they got pregnant, during the pregnancy, helping the body to level up or level down in the different areas, what needed to be for the pregnancy. And then at the birth, the recovery was even faster. So much so that I had one incident with a mother who had not used Soul, but the grandmother was using it. And once the grandchild was born, the grandmother reached out to me because her daughter was not bouncing back the way that she knew that she should. And so we very quickly got some product to her. In fact, we got the Renew, the Vital, the Excel, and the Adaptable, those 4 things, because of the situation that was tied with the birth. And I knew it was one that they'd used a lot of progesterone shots to help carry to term. So I knew there was a significant drop. And this child that had been so prayed for and wanted so much, the mother was not being able to transition. And basically postpartum depression was sitting in full bore. Well, I kid you not, within hours of those products being started, the mother was able to give a thumbs up to the husband to let him know that she was going to be okay. And then she came out of it very quickly and stayed on those until everything balanced out for her. So just another way to show how the same products worked differently for that postpartum depression than they would have during the actual pregnancy. And my grandchildren, and I've worked with so many clients and they've used them with their children. There's thousands of stories about how we have used the Soul Natural products with the children. And I know my grandchildren, they would see Troy or I drinking our drinks, our Vital or Renew, and they would come and they would want that. They wanted what grandma and grandpa were drinking. In fact, they would ditch anything else that they had because that's what they wanted. So this is one reason why I will always be using adaptogens for children, for the pregnancies, for afterbirth, because of how well it works and how much more emotionally balanced everyone is whenever they're using them. Another why. Many of you watched our journey 2.5 years ago. It's hard for me to believe it was that long ago. We went through with Troy when he ended up being diagnosed with an extremely rare type of infection that was in one of the discs of his back. And literally within hours, we almost lost him. And then they only gave him a 1% chance of survival. I ended up working with 5 different doctors in the hospital, doing what I do, them doing what they do. And they pulled me aside. This is a very long ordeal for those of you remember, because even at the point, I mean, you see how much weight he lost, because he lost over 30 pounds and 32 pounds in 28 days. He couldn't eat. It was ridiculous. He had to almost learn how to be able to walk again because everything was so bad. But one of those doctors pulled me aside and said, we are so excited that he's been able to leave the hospital today, because honestly, we did not think this day was going to happen. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that the 7 years of doing adaptogens every single day helped to lay that foundation, both for his body to be able to respond and be able to bounce back and have the resilience, and myself to make it through it without crashing too, because we know how hard these types of things are on caretakers. And even for once he got out of the hospital, we were not out of the woods. We had months. He had the port in his arm. There was the amount of meds they had him on. doctors were in shock because they did say that the pain tied with this was equal to end stage cancer, and it was just off the charts. Well, I have it all documented how I would give him his meds and then how I would come in with the vital, and I had him on massive amounts of vital so that it did not the medications did not impair his kidneys, so that we could flush, let the meds do what it need to do, but then flush the residue out of the system to help alkalize the system, because how it would turn more acidic from the medications. There are ways to work these together. There's a time and place for both. And the stories of what we were able to do, and I am going to go very in depth at some point here, probably in the next 6 months, to give you guys the play-by-play of everything that we did. But I remember that moment when all of a sudden I could take a breath, and I realized that it was going to be okay, that he was going to make it, that I didn't have to be watching him like a hawk, because he was so unaware of what was going on. Had been hallucinating. He did not know what was going on with him. And again, those adaptogens were a godsend for us. And I thanked God every day that we had laid that groundwork, and that we were able to pull on that health account that we had built up in both of us to get through all this. Another reason for adaptogens, and I love this word, the word resilience. In fact, I think that resilience is a word that we should start tying in with adaptogens a little bit more. And resilience specifically too, because life. Adaptogens help us deal with life. We all know that the last 2.5 years for all of us has been challenging. There has been lots going on, lots of changes in everyday life. But the fact is, we're still having to deal with it and bounce back, move forwards, pivot, adapt to what's going on. Adaptogens, I believe, are absolutely critical to being able to move forward and having the resilience to step into life the best possible way, the best possible us, be there the most and best possible us for our family, for our friends, for ourselves, for our service to others, for being able to pay it forward to others. And resilience, I feel like what I just shared with you, what had happened with us with Troy when he was so ill, it did allow us to bounce back impressively. Many of you know that the changes that happened from him being ill allowed me, because of the way I'd been able to build my Soul Naturals business, was able to bring it and now work out of my home. Don't have that overhead from the shop. I still, because people are so used to virtual consults now, I can see all my clients, which are all over North America. Resilience is so important to be able to do it. Resilience for Troy, that he can go out and have these long motorcycle rides with Alan, his buddy. I mean, last year they did like 82 or 8,700 miles. I don't remember, but just be able to go out and do that from having been on his deathbed and us not knowing if he would ever have any type of life. And now he's got resilience. So let's look at this. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. They did. They told us that he wouldn't have any type of quality of life. Proven wrong. These Soul Naturals adaptogenic formulas have been phenomenal. And I know that his story is not the only story. I've heard so many stories about resilience and about what adaptogens have helped people to bounce back from and move forward to deal with everything that's been going on in the last year. And I think it's important to point out that health is a state of body. And I really like this quote: wellness is a state of being. This is two different things. We have physical health that unfortunately is not always appreciated until it's gone. And then wellness is more than just our physical health. Wellness is that state of being so that mentally we are all in the game, that physically we're all in the game, and emotionally. So mind, body, and we talk about this, and this is something unique that I've seen adaptogens bring to the table. To me, what we can now offer with the formulas from Soul Naturals is an opportunity, more of an opportunity for people to get wellness. Yes, it is still going to be determined also. Are we drinking enough good water? Are we in good, healthy relationships? Do we have good boundaries? Are we eating as clean as possible? How are we aligned spiritually? There's so much more of it. But what I find the adaptogenic formulas allow us to do is to support us as we step forward and move forward into that. It also, I have found that the adaptogenic formulas help people to process in a more comfortable and safe way the emotional issues that may have been tied to some of the physical states that they've ended up in. We will get into more in depth in that at a different time about some of what that looks like. I just felt it was important to just take a short amount of time to share this as to why, again, that adaptogens are always going to be part of what I offer. So we're back up and running again. Mondays at 6:30 before we do the other presentation that happens at 7 o'clock. I hope that you will continue to join us. And right now I'm going to stop and open up to some questions. Let me stop.